The grand finals are upon us here for the Boston Major. It has taken us a whole lot of games of Dota. 16 teams down to just 4. The semis and the grand finals are going to be going down on the very stage here in the Wang Theatre across the course of the day. Before we do start talking about our final day of the Boston Major, we have to take a moment and take a deep breath and recap how we got to this point in time, because some very exciting and some very surprising results did go down in those quarterfinals. Let's take a look, and then we'll get into our final day.
Previously on the Boston Major.
Pasha goes in, 3-man crush, Ramsey's dropping down the blood right, looking to change his down universe, but the demonic purge is there, holding him back through the BKB. The illusions ripping through Ramsey's as well. Pasha jumps in again, holds Sumail back with the crush. They've still got the vision on him, no one from the high ground, beeping him down low. Sumail, he's going to be bursted here by the fire blast from Solo. They've also lost Arteezy, but in return, perfectly around those Starstorm bursts.
Want to perhaps run into EG. Solo in the front lines. The gem is on Pasha's ladder.
Oh no, they're leaning in, doing huge amounts of damage here. Arteezy will jump forward with the Starstorm burst. Pasha gets the crush onto Grit, and here we go onto No One. Sumail moving forward. Sumail kind of questioning his decision to move in, but no, he's got the damage, but he's been doing No One turns. Aegis is popped, but Sumail's life is popped as well. Ramsey trying to chase down for more, held back by the demonic purge of Grit. There'll be a buyback from Sumail. Pasha coming in with the crush onto Arteezy. The damage from No One taking down Artor. He's got a double. He'll turn towards Universe. Universe is going to get popped as well. They've found massive kills here. Buybacks are coming out from the side of EG to hold. No one surrounded and taken down though. EG on the defense, and they will do it successfully so. The fight here, but Crit. Oh no, no one's going to be so careful. They've got the water. No one. Oh no, not the rapier. They've got the disruption, but Pasha's there with the backup. Joseph with the crush. No one turns around.
Don't hit the Alchemist. He hit the Alchemist.
He's down. No one hits the deck. They've lost Lil as well. Ramses is going to be dropped. EG. I think they might have just done it here, and they have. GG is called. That one on the high ground. VP were not prepared for that. EG finding the jump in.
Not expend the actual buyback. Afu again jumps in, found the Invoker, the duel is on, and Ana is down! It's a dieback right now for OG's Invoker! Nortel, he's still just one man, and he is gone! GG! 56 minutes in talk. Someone from OG to get in too close. Now Ana starts to stun, finds the Pugger, almost kills him straight away. But then you've got the duel with the Blade Mail up. Kangaroo can't actually do any damage. Ana's just so damn tanky. WG, they're losing too many people. The mass buybacks are on their way. And they call GG. WG will admit defeat in the face of OG, who advance themselves forward. Look at that smile on Nortel. It's happening again. Two-time major winners. Coming on the courier. Will they plan it down in time? There's your imprisonment. So it's just the Plague Wars down for the moment. They're trying to block his path out by blocking in the tree line. Weeha dodges with the meld. Back behind the trees. No, once again, SVG right in the money. Hits the Gale, and Weeha will tick out. He goes invis. Do they see him? Can he actually survive through this? The Gale is still ticking him down, but it's not enough damage. Okay. Now the Sentry Ward is finally planted. It took a very long time. Weeha reads the maneuver, and Weeha will see how much damage he's got. Chemical Rage is on cooldown for the moment, but Concoction will hit, and Timbersaw, there's no way he can't survive it. And it's Envy caught on the wrong side of the tracks. It's already a double kill for Weeha. Moon will dunk it down, but it's Resolution with a triple kill, and GG! DC will not only 2-0 MP out of the Boston Major, they will obliterate them.
Pinches of damage. Oh, they actually just swap back, but that was a miscommunication. Now he's actually going to jump forward. He gets Black Hole go. They may have the damage with the Juggernaut on the slash, and the epicenter on all goes to killing Madara. It goes for Xiao Wei, but he can't get him. At the same time, Madara, he's just focused on one other melee Rex. They managed to catch him with the Black Hole, but Madara, he's still staying strong through all of this. He still has the BKB as well as the Aegis. He pops the BKB, turns against DDC, hoping to be able to man through all of this damage that's coming out. 3 more seconds until Waveform is up. Spartan does not have a relocate, but he does have his tether ready to go. He's going to bump into DDC, take it out that support in the back lines. LFY, they just don't have the damage. They managed to take on another, but it's still Madara at half HP, manning up against the 4-man. Here comes an epicenter Yao. They managed to finish up the Wiz. They're slowing down a little bit, push forward. Madara actually stays ahead of that Burrow Strike, and he's trying to man up against this guy, but he just seems to have too much HP. Madara the monster! My God! Triple kill against 5 of LFY, and he still has an Aegis, and to the bitter end will fight, but Xiao Wei will not! He gets it up. Game 1 is Ad Phenums. Maybe next time, jump forward. They finish off Yao. A push forward. Super stuck in the trees. Is it? Penalties down. LFY are gone. Game 3 is Ad Phenums for the taking.
Damn, Spartan is so happy.
It's come down to this, indeed, one final day of play in the $3 million major. The world's best Dota players are waiting backstage to get their chance to get to the grand finals of the Boston Major. I am your host, Alex Machine Richardson. I'm joined by a bunch of merry men. First, to my left, I have none other than ex-player and all-round sweetheart Fogged. Good to have you here with us. Nice tie, and also feeling like you're, I almost see a smile of excitement coming into these semi-finals. Just a little one.
Definitely, after seeing that video, we just saw Ad Phenums screaming and breaking stuff inside the booth. Come on, at least that's all that's in my recent memory right now, but we have some great games coming up ahead of us today. First series is very hype. I think we're going to have a really split crowd as well.
And joining him alongside it, we have chess master and king of the draft, Winter. Lul. Don't laugh at me, Winter. We're supposed to be serious. Yes, indeed. EG-OG is going to be our first game. Ad Phenums storyline as well. Winter, I know you're all about the draft, all about the Dota, but you can't help but fall a little bit in love with some of the storylines we've established here.
I mean, I told Ted I'm just going to be on Ad Phenums'
You are?
side today. Yeah.
Oh, he's been besotted. And finally, of course, on my panel, we have the delightful Shiva. I know we have got a lot to look forward to here, Shiva, but just as you do see that recap video, what stood out? The absence of VP, what was it?
Okay, so obviously Ad Phenum, everybody loves them. Let's put that aside for a second. I think the most important thing that I can take away from yesterday, I was not expecting DC to crush NP as hard as they did. I mean, I was expecting them to be victorious. I thought they were going to win. But 2 20, 25-minute games, I don't think anybody was thinking that that was going to be so one-sided, and I think that is really scary for any team going up against Digital Chaos today.
They did make a statement, there's no doubt about it. That will be played second. We get Digital Chaos versus Ad Phenum. If you want to see it for yourself, the bracket will help. We can bring that up to also remind you of what the games we did witness. OG did manage to beat down Warriors Gaming in a full 3-game series, and it wasn't necessarily the most Well, it wasn't the most one-sided of series, was it, Winter? Getting to see a full 3 games Warriors did not go down without a fight.
Yeah, a bit disappointed at the end.
You were disappointed at the end, I know.
A little, but OG still proved to be the much stronger team with their greedier draft in the last game, the Alchemist Luna. And the Pokemon was like a decent solution, but just didn't work out for WG.
I mean, we did say, we were like, the fact that reverse series are rare, Adfinum was probably the only other exception to that. Warriors got the first, and OG stood vigilant, picking up those 2. Coming up today, though, if you're sitting there and want to plan your day around the grand finals of the Boston Major, we've got some times for you. Do prepare yourselves. This is what's going down today. EG, OG, then we get ourselves Digital Chaos versus Adfinum, and then that grand final. Full best of 5, and there is, of course, going to be a scheduled 1-hour break between that second semi and that grand final. So for everyone in the theater, of you guys at home, you know what to do. Your day is planned. Whew. Is it time to get the players on stage? Are you ready to start talking EG, OG?
100%.
So
let's do it.
All right, let's do this. And so, as is tradition, before we do dive into this first series, we have to get the players in their booths. It is time, and it's my great pleasure to introduce your first semi-final team. It is none other than EG, and alongside them, it is OG.
Reigning champions and 2-time major winners Fly and No-Tail have returned to the fray with a revitalized squad. Competing in their 4th consecutive Dota 2 major, quick, smart, and deadly finishers, they've recently rediscovered their mojo, giving us a taste of that killer instinct. Welcome on stage, OG. With a world-class player in every single position and a double majors champion as its captain, this high-powered team commands respect. Under the watchful eyes of Coach Fear, new team captain Crit has already delivered silverware to this TI winning organization. Welcome on stage, Evil Geniuses.
OG, the only team, the only organization to win 2 Valve events with Frankfurt and Manila under their belt, and now they want to get themselves into that grand final of Boston. Can they make it 3? And standing in their way is EG. Right, panel, it's time to get into it. It's time to understand exactly how things are going to be going down. OG is our first port of call, and of course, when you frame it like, can they make it 3, you really do just have to say, are they coming in as favorites here, Shiva?
It's really
such a good question, right?
to tell, yeah, because I mean we've seen Evil Geniuses. Okay, in the group stages they didn't look that hot, and then they came into the main stage, and then they crushed every opponent they've had ever since, and they just look so dominant in this. At the same time, OG, we saw them yesterday against WG Unity, and it was a rough series for them. In the end, they relied on that Alchemist to carry them through twice. And I kind of feel like we might not see Alchemist at all this series. So it really depends on how well these teams can adjust. I mean, I think they can do it, but at the same time, I think EG, I would put them maybe even as a favorite.
Okay, I mean, this discussion of favorites is really interesting, and it's going to be quite polarizing on the desk. We can bring up OG's roster because it will be probably a reminder fogged of just how much firepower these guys do house. None other than N0tail, Ana, S4, Jurax, and Fly. The N0tail and Fly bookends of the course, and then they've got some very exciting Ana and Jurax. New blood, new chip off the old block, Fogged?
Yeah, the one cool thing I did want to obviously talk about is Crit being on EG now.
Yes.
While he used to be on OG. So there's that kind of tension maybe between there, just to throw it off a little bit more. But just looking at OG, they definitely have a long run, especially like just facing versus EG, because I think the individual skill is going to be a really important factor here. Just the individual matchups. Big ones I'm looking at is Ana versus Sumail, and then S4 versus Universe. These two, if they could put in 1v1s, I think EG has a slight edge over them.
I mean, every position, including Creed versus Jerax, very similar players. And it's going to be very important in the early game, like who gets more done.
You're saying that basically, well, I mean, if we remind ourselves what Sumail said in that interview, you know, they asked him, they said, who has challenged you in the mid lane? And he said, no one, not the player. No one has challenged me. I mean, it's pretty BM, also pretty hype. I like that a lot. There's sometimes an attitude you need to have to be the very best. We can bring up their roster alongside Sumail. You'll see EG. And a lot of love for these guys if they have turned things around after a very downtrodden group stage, conceding 2 best of 3s to their domestic rivals and counterparts Complexity. They've now find themselves in a very good position. And a lot of that, Shiva, has been attributed to that victory versus Virtus.pro.
Yeah, for sure. That first game against Virtus.pro, it just felt like Evil Geniuses was so prepared. They knew exactly what to do. And in terms of preparation, sure, they had like, a full day to prepare for that matchup. And that's fair enough. So, you know, good win. But then the second game is where it really showed that Evil Geniuses can adjust on the fly and just know what the enemy is trying to bring. So they adjust, but they also are aware of what the other team is going to adjust. And that adaptability that they have is so important, and that's going to be even more important in this series as well, as OG is also one of those teams to adjust per series.
Leading me to exactly to something I was going to bring up. Do you think that Crit, knowing kind of like the foundation of OG, the kind of the way they work, the kind of the way they think, do you think that's going to have a big impact? Just because the way that they adjusted, the way that they adapted yesterday, you saw how concrete of a game plan they had. How much of a difference is it going to make in this one?
I think it will have a big impact. Surely you've played under the captainship of Fly for like a year almost.
Sure.
And so you know how he thinks, you know how he works. You can definitely prepare for that.
You know how Sebastian thinks as well. You know how their coach like talks to their teammates. You kind of get the general idea of what they want to go for. So
I mean, this goes one of two ways, because I've seen instances of this before where they've played for a roster for so long and then they find themselves against them, and it can go one of two ways. That, or the other way is you sit there and go, oh my God, I knew they were going to do that. I don't think personally he's as good as he should be. You know, like you basically compare yourself all the time, and you think you feel extra competitive and you take the loss extra hard if things do go badly. Do bear that in mind. I'm all about emotions, you know.
OG can also use that against them.
Yes, true.
He's going to no, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something else.
It's
next
chess.
Level.
Yeah.
It's always chess. Let's bring up that featured matchup, though, for you guys at home to explain exactly what is going down today. Who we want to keep our eyes on? It's Jerax and Zai.
So in this matchup, I think the mid lane, we already pointed out, the mid lane is going to be very important.
Yes.
But both of those players are going to know that. We saw yesterday when we were talking about Sumail versus no one, we knew that was going to be a very important matchup. So we had Sumail sitting there on his Ursa with an IO backing him up, and therefore having an advantage in that laning stage. And I think these two supports are going to make the difference in that mid lane, and are going to make a difference for the teams going into that mid game, if you will, and have the advantage there. Depending on who does better.
I mean, that also relies on what the captain puts them on.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly. If he puts them on someone that can't really help the mid lane, then you can't basically do that with their roles.
I think it'll be pretty important to have both of them on just like rotators, though, in this series.
IO Ogre.
IO Ogre, exactly, yeah.
How greedy can you get? We saw Jerax on Slardar yesterday, and that was a fairly greedy support.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You weren't convinced, though,
I wasn't a big fan of that when they did it in that game. So I would actually rather in this matchup prefer him to be a much more on a roamer, a stronger roamer. You can pressure lanes. You need to make sure that the mid laner gets a good time. That is like super crucial in this matchup.
Oh, that's primary school insults. I like that. We're going right down to the Stone Age. Okay, guys. I know this is going to be really difficult for you. This might be the hardest prediction segment we have had so far in the Boston Major, because I know that you guys are really not going to find it easy to separate them. And you know I always start with you, Shiva.
Yeah. Yesterday I went against the crowd, I think I've learned from my mistakes, guys. I'm going for EG. I think they're gonna have what it takes here to make it to the grand finals.
Giving it to EG, and if I throw it over to you, Winter, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think EG is the slight favorite here in this matchup. I'm going with EG as well.
Okay, slight favour. They're giving him the edge. 2 for EG, and hang on a second. Hey, you're no stranger to EG. Fogged, what have you got?
Always comes down to me.
Always.
Now I have to make the crowd unhappy, right?
Do it.
No, they're ready. They're ready. No, I'm gonna have to go with EG as well. I just think that they showed really good adapting, like Shiva was mentioning in yesterday's series, and I think them having a little bit of background knowledge, and they had a whole day to prep and watch OG after they played. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go EG 2-0.
Alex has a plan here, you know. Looking at him,
he's like,
bro, he's chilling.
Okay, so despite EG beating a very good-looking Virtus Pro in 19 minutes yesterday, I understand that is hypey.
Hypey?
I'm going for OG. I'm taking OG, and the reason for that is because we've seen evidence. Okay, so I'm not allowed to go in the crowd anymore.
There's mixed feelings, though. You can hear
there were so many signs in the crowd
I've seen
for
some
OG as well.
signs.
Look at
There
that,
they
look
are.
at that. Dream
the OG
green.
dream.
It's definitely a pretty split crowd.
Yeah.
But yes, they're definitely. I mean, there's been no shortage of fantastic Dota from OG. We saw them top their group. We've seen them walk through MVP Phoenix, of course, an invited team. Yes, I'm going to be backing that one up and taking it to OG. I mean, you guys have already highlighted that this is like what would you give if I asked you to give me percentages? I mean, it's probably
60-40.
Yeah, 55-45.
Very
I would say
close.
55-45.
Very close.
Yeah.
okay. I mean, we have got the beauty of social media predictions as well. I'm sure we'll be able to bring them up at some point just to see what the community is saying. And okay, you said 65-35.
That is
60,
a little
40?
bit more
Yeah,
one-sided than I would think.
Still pretty.
But there is a little bit of popularity contest in that as well. Evil Geniuses.
Yes.
I think you don't agree. That Evil
It's
Geniuses
close. S4 is living Twitch chat, isn't he? Those guys used to be in there. No Tail too. He's the flower.
You're forgetting about one secret weapon that EG has, and that's Arteezy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's got Twitch chat on his side.
I think if you're basing it on yesterday's performance, I think EG played a lot better than OG. They were much more solid. OG looked like they almost lost to WG in some parts of the game. So
what were their shortcomings versus Warriors Gaming, if you can remember?
I think the first game in particular, their lanes were really, really weak. And in the following games, they tried to play a bit greedy, and WG, because maybe a bit severe lack of experience compared to their opponents, they were able to punish certain amount of greed that OG did. But maybe against EG, they might not be able to get away with the greed.
And I mean, this turnaround from EG, I think, you know, the big statement that we are basing a lot of these predictions on, a lot of this excitement on, has to be, folks, the fact that it's not only was it VP result, we also got to see EG versus none other than Wings Gaming. I mean, literally, you take the TI winners down, who haven't changed their roster, you then proceed to take Virtus Pro down, who a lot of people had even in their number one slot of their fantasy. That these two huge results have really influenced your prediction here.
Yeah, I think Winter put it perfectly. I think EG just looked like they played better than OG did yesterday, and I think it could have an impact on it today as well.
At the same time, we kept saying Evil Geniuses, they said it themselves as well, that they perform better against better teams. Is that a case? In this case, some might say that OG has had the easier bracket. Now,
easier?
the less difficult.
Okay.
Right?
The less difficult. That makes it better.
Less difficult means easy, I think.
They beat MVP. MVP wasn't looking too strong. They were first seed going up against a fourth seed. MVP was a fourth seed for a reason. Warrior Gaming Unity. It was not the strongest team here at this tournament either. Not one that people were looking up to, like that's a team to really keep an eye on.
Sure.
So maybe OG also just needs that monster to compete against, and then they also will bring out the best in them. You don't agree?
Not feeling it. Literally just this kind of
Going like,
maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's a valid point. Like some teams, it takes someone that, we don't want to lose to those guys. I don't want to lose to Alex's team, so I'm gonna try really hard. I'm gonna bring out the best.
I mean, it's not something we can measure, but it is something that you'll definitely feel in this theatre, in the Wang Theatre, as this semi-final does begin. Before it does so, though, we're going to be getting a question from you guys over in social media land. It's a real place. I've been there.
At least it's no longer the stratosphere.
That's better. That's better than stratosphere.
Yes.
Yeah, it's from Ad. He says, does the first semi-final winner have an advantage going into the finals?
I'm glad I'm actually so happy someone got this question, because I actually wanted to discuss it just with all of us. Like, how do we feel about having this many series in the final day? We have the first, they obviously have to play a game in the beginning in the morning. then they have to watch the next series, and then they have to go wait all the way until later on in the afternoon. Do you think it's going to get them tired?
So you were going to suggest that the first semi-final has a disadvantage. Others would suggest the second.
There's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think
right?
it goes both ways.
So, for people that don't know this, you already mentioned it, Alex, there's going to be a 1 hour break in between the second semifinals and the grand final. So you do have that 1 hour to prepare. And I think no matter if if the teams are playing right here, but also at the same time we're going to have DC and Adfinem watching this series. So they're going to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And then the winner of this series will obviously also study the next series. I think that in that regard is fairly even. They'll both be awake. You know, no naps in between. And I think it's going to be not really a disadvantage for any of the teams. Maybe a little bit of both, and therefore it evens out.
Depends on
If that makes
preference, though.
sense.
Maybe some people prefer to not have that huge break in between because
Yeah.
you have to watch the games. They're not, in the zone anymore. And some players prefer to, I want a break after maybe the game was really long. I just want to chill, watch the games.
Interesting. So you would much rather play a full, tiring 3-game series and then proceed to play a best of 5?
Yeah, for me, I would prefer that because
would?
it
Interesting.
keeps me warm. It keeps me warm, so I rather do that.
So from the two players, you feel like that's where you'd rather be, and then from the two losers on the end, we'd rather be the other one.
We'd rather study our opponents,
Yeah.
you know?
We'd rather do our homework, Shiva, and get success that way.
I mean, you got the talented people and the hardworking people.
Hey, we'll take
there
it.
you go.
I mean, they have a coach. That's what the coach is,
yeah,
trained to
true.
do that. So
Makes a big
But
difference.
both teams have a coach. Actually, all apart from Adfinem here have a coach.
They have a.
Don't they
I
have
think
a
they have a coach. They have a stats guy.
They have a
Stats guy.
coach.
Yeah.
So it's
So he definitely helps.
it's Mad and Fear.
And Fear. Yeah.
In this case, yes.
Yeah, okay, for OG and EG. We've got one more question for you before we do continue to talk about coaches, because I am such a sucker for that discussion. It's going to be Sinistram. He says, Rubik or Invoker? Which one is greater Magus?
Grand Magus. Well, that's Rubik actually calls himself the Grand Magus.
So I guess he's kind of stated his claim.
And in a way, Rubik takes way more spells because he knows how to cast them all.
Why are you laughing at me?
Winter's giggling.
I just wanted to look up what Magus really entails. I'm looking it up
it's
on
a wizard.
Google.
It's a wizard.
Did you
But
Google
what-
the definition of a Magus?
Oh, come on.
Come on, it's a
Googled
wizard.
Magus.
Well, that's not what Google says.
Okay, what does Google say?
A member of the Zoroastrian priestly caste of the Medes and Persians.
Sure.
Or-
So it's Rubik.
So I just Googled it as well, right, Fog? Just
What'd
to
you get? Yeah.
And also, there's a second definition. It's a lot easier. You ready for this? A sorcerer.
There you go,
What's-
a wizard.
Where's that one?
That's a little
Oh,
better,
yeah,
isn't
right
it?
there. One of the Magi.
So who's the bigger wizard? I think it's Rubik because he knows all the spells.
But he's a thief. He
Well,
steals.
if it would be a thief, well, no, if you steal something, that means the other person doesn't have it anymore, and he'll still have his spell as well.
So he's, borrowing?
Copying.
Copy.
He copies it for a limited amount of time.
Yeah, so it means the other guy is better than him.
But
'Cause he
he
needs
can
to
copy
copy the
more.
other guy.
The other people can't copy spells.
But Invoker can have two at the same time.
He doesn't need to copy.
But yeah, wait a minute.
So can Rubik because he has multiple spells.
But those are his. He doesn't.
Come
I
on,
think that's a
Alex,
hard
what do
one.
you think?
I think that's a hard one.
Alex, you have to be the decider.
I think it's obviously Rubik.
Thank you.
What? That's
you.
wrong.
Look at that.
Just kidding.
Some love for our production. PGL.
Like
getting
it.
their own
They deserve
sign.
all the love that they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
out
I
to Vlad.
just want to say something. Vlad is actually more funny than Alex.
Yes, our producer. you may have met him from the little video Slacks did. Yeah, but he's a dank memer. He is, and he's always in our ears. Sometimes I feel like I'm going mad, but it is just Vlad. Oh, I can't stop. Thanks for the resident PGL fan. That's coming in from. Oh, PGL. I see what you did there. All right, tooting your own horn a little bit now. Stop it.
That's not a question.
Let's go ahead and start talking draft, guys, because
Okay.
I want to make sure we have every single second necessary.
Yes.
This match, Alchemist banned. Both, like, on the first ban phase. Because we have seen Sumail on the Alchemist. We have seen Anna on the Alchemist. Both are absolutely dominant with it. Both don't really seem to care if it goes late or early because they can deal with both. And I kind of feel like that's kind of the
It's a cute sign. I like that.
It's a disaster.
I love how much effort has gone into all of these signs.
It's amazing.
So
I mean,
much
do you
love.
see the glittery round?
Yeah.
That's that eye for detail is good there. But Alchemist, guys,
I think it's gonna get through.
is you
I don't think it's gonna
it might
be.
be ignored though, like, because both teams like, oh, they're gonna do this or they're gonna do this, and then in the end, no one picks the hero. Like the group stage, everyone was picking Ogre, and then when it came to the main stage, it wasn't really picked every game.
I was going to say Wisp is probably going to be one of the more... Wisp and Earth Spirit are probably going to be the more contested heroes between these two. Obviously with Crit, Earth Spirit, and with Jarex is the two pretty much iconic names of the hero. They're not banned out in the first two.
They're like very mirror-made, you know, for each other. They both play like very similar heroes. They play the same way.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like an expected one there, I guess. Any other heroes that come to mind that are like in high contention here, apart from the Earth Spirit and the IO? Bat Rider.
Shadow Demon.
Shadow Demon.
Just like the usual Shadow Demon, Luna.
Both are not really
Axe,
Shadow Demon.
I think Axe is another one.
What do you think about Warlock as well? Like Warlock is sometimes picked by EG, but OG tend to, like from the previous series, they tend to prefer to pick it.
I think OG likes Warlock more.
Yeah, probably they like it more than EG.
Yeah.
So this series, thank you for banning Alchemist.
They did ban it. Okay.
Wrong game, guys. Wrong game. Thank you.
So Shadow Demon still available.
I'm glad to see Alchemist go. I mean, let's not forget that one of the big kind of praises we hailed towards EG was that they were finishing, OG, they were finishing games with Alchemist quickly. I mean, we always said it was going to go late game, and they finished 2 sub 40-minute games with Alchemist. That was where we...
He's only slow for the first 15 minutes. After that, the hero picks up the pace a lot. And right now, OG are taking a long time because they are deciding whether we go for the Shadow Demon or the Warlock.
Yep.
I think 2 of these teams deem Warlock as a counter towards Shadow Demon because of how you work against the hero. Fatal Bonds can deal with the illusions, and you have the Rock to stop him from disrupting his teammate in the team fights.
Yeah.
So OG is known for going for defensive supports. Not always 2. We saw Jarex obviously yesterday on the Slaughter, but normally they go for 2 fairly defensive supports.
That's mainly Fly on the defensive.
Oh, that's we actually overlooked it. That's right. OG always first picks the Naga for no tail. So that does get through.
Yes.
So now
Normally
Shadow Demon, Mirana. Okay.
That was really quick. They might have already anticipated that Naga.
I mean, this goes back to yesterday. Evil Geniuses knew exactly what VP was going to do.
Do you guys know by any chance if there's a support? Okay, maybe not with the Kotal. There's no way. There's very unlikely that the Naga is going to be support anymore.
OG, I think, almost always exclusively runs it on no tail. Yeah.
So it's not a flexible pick for them.
Okay.
You can keep it in the back of your mind, but generally it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is no tail.
But the speed by which EG did respond in that draft does get, it does basically beg the question. They knew that was coming. They almost...
We might see like some anti-mage here from EG.
Morphling or anti-mage?
Yeah, anti-mage or Morphling. Those 2 carries are very good against Naga. And RTZ likes to play both of the heroes.
Do you think they could still go for a Luna? I don't see.
But Luna is like a timing push, If you pick Luna, it means that you want to deal damage to the base at a certain amount of time, like around minute 30. You want to break at least one side of Rex.
Shadow Demon does enable you to open it up a little bit more.
I think if they go Luna, they probably have to go something like a DK mid, like to force the push. Like if you go for like Morphing AM, it's much easier to
Yeah,
draft.
I think those are the more 2 ones. I think we'll probably see OG ban one of the 2, if not both of them, in the 3rd, 4th, because we saw them do that at the Summit. It was like EG showed their card one of the games, and then I think multiple games versus like Wings versus OG, everybody was just banning out the anti-mage Morphling in the 3rd, 4th versus them.
Yeah, so we see the Juggernaut ban from EG, so that gives away very important information to OG. It means that EG are not going to try to push because Juggernaut is very good against the Kotal. If you ever want to push against Kotal, you want to have the healing ward. And OG seeing that ban, they take out the AM because if you're not trying to push, you're going to try to play late game. So it's very obvious both of the teams are starting to understand what you're trying to do.
And with them taking a little bit longer to decide about their bans, they're trying to maybe adjust mid-draft to what they already planned from the get-go.
They are thinking about replacements right now because when they see OG take out the AM, they are immediately probably thinking, oh, there's still a Morphling, but they might still ban out the Morphling.
Yep.
So what do we go? What if Morphling is also banned out?
They ban out the LC, obviously the illusion clear, and it's actually been doing pretty decent, even though it's been painting like picked first 2, which I don't think any of us could have predicted in a couple extra series. It's had a quite high win rate here. It's like 70% or something on the main stage.
Teams have been rating the hero very highly though.
So if the Morph indeed is the last ban here, we still have the Luna and the Drow Ranger for Evil Geniuses.
Not a huge fan of the Drow Ranger versus Naga Siren. You're on too much of like a window.
But you do have to push though. If you don't have good late game against Naga, you're not going to want to go to late game, so you have to push even if you don't like it. Like a Drow, Luna, maybe a TB, like something like that to push down.
Terrorblade. We've seen a few Terrorblades, only last pick though.
It's a great response to Alchemist in that kind of essence, because you hit your timing faster.
They are using a lot of that reserve time.
Yeah, it's like a very big decision here. Do you
Right.
want to ban the Morphling, or are you ready to deal with the Morphling and you rather
So
not?
that's what's happening now, is they're saying, what can we do if they go
Yeah,
morph?
they're thinking
Pretty much.
about what the enemy can do to win the game. It's either they go late or we want to ban early game hero so they can't pressure us
It's
too
gone.
much.
Yeah, and they get rid of it.
The most annoying one.
We've seen some really big morphlings, haven't we, here on the main
Yes.
stage?
Yeah, from
think-
Ad Finum.
Ad Finum, especially with Madara.
EG could go for something like a Clockwork if they like it. It's obviously
Yeah,
very good
Clockwork.
versus the Coddle. You can find the Naga Siren as well with your rockets, able to isolate
No,
him in a
you
what kind
can't
of way.
cast your ultimate if you get caught in the cogs plus battery.
Yeah, you can't cast your ult. It stops you. Obviously, with the battery assault, you can't
That's a
really
great
cast
pick.
anything.
So far, Universe is not countered at all. Like, at least not that much by OG. He can pick still Darkseer, Clockwork, still in Sand King is still in the pool as well. In terms of offlaners, it's wide open.
Isn't
yeah, it still
Clockwork,
is very open.
isn't Clockwork
Clockwork
one of Universe's like most popular picks as well?
Yeah,
It's like
they have
second
Clockwork
favorite.
plus Mirana, so there's a lot of synergy with the current heroes. I like that pick a lot here for EG. And it allows your other two cores to take a lot from the map, you know, because you don't take much resource as a Clockwork.
Yeah, and you can really mess with the supports as well. You keep supports in the lane because Naga Siren, if they do put it short lane, which we're assuming OG will, since it's going to be No-Tail playing it, you have to help him versus a Clockwork, because if he's just left alone, Clockwork can get way too much. So we'll see what they want to go for, because it's either they go for that or they go for some heavy team fight, some
It's
like
the Nyx
Darkseer or
Assassin.
Spirit. Okay.
Go Nyx.
Still pretty good.
That also leaves Lifestealer is still in if you want to have him as a vessel for some early aggression. If you want to try and find the real Naga Siren, that's a good
The
way to
Carapace
do
is
it.
very good against the Naga and the Koto.
And that would be a Universe hero.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys. When they run Naga, they mostly just run him like in the safe lane, right? They don't run him mid.
Normally, yeah.
Normally, yes.
Normally.
Yeah, the lanes will be easy to guess for EG right now because Naga is usually a hero that's quite flexible in the lane. You can go safe lane, you can go mid. But if you are only doing him in the safe lane, then the enemy team has an easier time
You can
to
build around that.
Yeah, to build around that, to plan against that. That might be an
Interesting.
issue.
One of the more popular picks and more successful picks of the Boston Major has been Mirana.
Yeah.
65% win rate.
Rubik as well, pretty high pick rate. Could be picked by OG, Rubik Koto. They really like the dual hero combination with the Naga.
Yeah.
They go for the Clockwork themselves.
Ooh, a bit of a
take
deny
it.
pick there as well. S4 is really a really strong Clockwork player. And we are going to assume it is S4, right? There's not really a chance. OG doesn't really pick it as a support.
Never seen it before, but they
They did pick the Slardar
did the
yesterday.
Slardar,
They did the
so,
Slardar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
They-
like, Ad Finum did it yesterday. I don't think
Yes.
MNT's played Clockwork support almost ever, and they picked it for him. So it's definitely left. It leaves it maybe a little open, but more than likely S4 Clock. And
if you think about the hero, he's like a support, right? In
Yeah.
the off lane, he doesn't take so much and he runs around.
yeah, it's a cool, clever dual lane too. Like the Clockwork Coddle, we used to see people run it like a long time ago just to pressure a lot. If they do want to go for something along those lines, and Clockwork fits really well with the Naga because you don't really take too much farm. So they do go for the Luna, as we kind of expected, but
Does that put a timer on their draft at all?
Definitely, they're gonna need to step up the pace of the game. Well, the other thing is what is their mid hero gonna be? Maybe they go for like a heavier farm hero. Then it sort of like puts your team under less stress because if you have dual core against a single core Naga, then you might have a much better time going into the late game.
you don't think there's a chance it's Mirana mid still?
Oh yeah, that
Sumail
too,
does
yeah.
play Mirana.
That too, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the Shadow Demon Mirana support because we've
Yeah.
seen so many support Miranas
There's-
the
I
day
th-
before.
I think there's still a chance. At least this just standing in my mind because of yesterday, though. But how do you feel about EG going for like a Chen? I mean, they are versus a Kato, which kind of deters you from going for like that full-out push thing. But EG took it late with the Chen yesterday, and it's a great, Shadow Demon combo.
I like Chen because basically the main idea for them right now is to pressure and use the Luna to take down towers. They need a mech carrier. They need a way to push with a support. How about Leshrac? I don't know.
I was actually legit. I was
G
literally
li-
about to say
G likes
Leshrac too.
Leshrac, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Leshrac will allow them to push. That would be also a pretty good option, but he's not a mech carrier. That's the
Yeah.
downside.
He does
He
pair
can
up
go.
nicely with the Shadow Demon.
I mean, yeah, I guess he can buy
Seen
the mech.
EG play it before?
Yes.
And it's a lot of, it gives you illusion clear on a support, and they already have the Shadow Demon who can make copies of the Naga Siren too.
So far, we've seen pushing supports Shadow Shaman, Leshrac, Chen. But if they do want to go for the support Mirana and go for a mid core that can push, that's only DK, right? There's not many other heroes that can push on
Yeah.
Is there
It's
another
like-
hero left that would offer also a little bit more in terms of illusion clear from the Naga Siren?
Mirana carry.
Mirana carry. I think it's like Lash, Chen, DK, or Invoker are probably like the more likely picks for EG right now.
Yeah, Invoker does give the Knicks much more threat in the map with the Sunstrike, the Vendetta plus Sunstrike gang.
Exactly.
Yeah, Lion is also one of the heroes, one of the supports. If they still go for that, actually OG thinks they are going for core still.
Yeah, they go for the DK themselves.
DK themselves,
So
there it is.
The heroes to make space for the Naga to take the map. The 4 heroes.
Someone to pressure towers with your teammates.
It could be also a deny pick. They are worried about the Luna DK push coming in. So overall, OG has a very straightforward, solid Naga draft. And EG, do they go for more late game? Do they go for the push? This is the last pick for them.
They're lucky. It's good that they get to at least, even though the DK may have been a deny pick, they get to see the mid laner first. So now it's like, Sumail, do you want to play Mirana versus DK mid? Do we want to pick Chen? What approach do we really want to go for
And
this?
they still have
really
bonus time left as well, so
yeah.
plenty of time to think
Burn
about
it down.
that.
It is interesting that EG have Luna and Shadow Demon, 2 of the most successful picks. In fact, both of those are the 2 picks that are above 60% win rate in the Boston Major, the only 2.
OG thinking they can beat it. Can they outlast them?
They have
The
the
Naga
Naga,
Siren,
though. They
yeah.
definitely can. Naga and Keeper of the Light. Very, very good late game.
Do they have enough illusion clear? Is the Keeper of Light enough of an illusion clear? Oh, there's the Lash.
They go for the Lash.
They go Lash.
All right.
So support Lash and mid Mirana.
Yes. So they have. It's
Very
a
good
really,
lanes.
it's a very good lane. Yeah, it's very scary. The Shadow Demon Lash Strike roaming potential, and it gives them some more, I guess you could say, late game potential if the Lash Strike is able to like transition to a core too. They do have the potential to maybe take it versus a Naga.
Lash Strike is really good against the illusions.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an edge to EG.
Oof, okay, giving EG the edge in our first draft of our first semi-final. It's time. All right, you've been waiting for the Dota. We've waited long enough. And so I can introduce your casting pair for the first game of our first semi-final for the Boston Major. It's the dudes from Down Under. It's Gods and Toby 1.
That's right. While we can't have a competitive Australian in the finals, maybe we could actually have a couple of casters.
We could have, Toby, come on.
Almost.
We've got Honor. We've
Close.
got one left.
Close, maybe. That's if OG can win. This crowd seems to be backing EG a little bit, but anything is possible. OG as well as EG. We've got major winners. We've got TI winners spattered through them all. Who can actually take this game and push themselves into the best of 5 grand final for the Boston Major?
It's crazy to think there is 3 teams with former OG members in the semi-finals between DC, OG, and EG. There's a very high chance we're going to have a 3-time major winner between the current OG players as well as Crit on EG as well as Moon Meander on DC. But we'll have to see. Maybe Adfinem will have a thing or 2 to say about it. Right now, EG going with a very aggressive smoke maneuver into the enemy jungle through the mid lane.
Yeah, they're not going to find anyone though.
Much,
OG is preparing themselves for the bot rune, but this will allow EG to establish some aggressive ward control if they want to. Not the biggest game for this to happen, as OG aren't really running a jungler, Clockwork, a hero who stays in the off lane, doesn't want to back out and say, hey, I'm going to do what we saw Axe do yesterday, where it's like just abandon the off lane completely, get some heavy farm.
We haven't seen where they want to put their second observer ward yet. Now they'll plant it just to help protect the off lane from some of those rotations. And I mean, for EG, you're pretty happy with that movement, even though you got nothing out of it because you get 2 really nice, difficult to plant wards typically. But OG similarly have got that cliff ward, so they're going to see a whole lot as EG look to go for an aggressive tri-lane, it seems. Well, they've already got Naga rotating bottom, so they've seen enough that they see the aggro tri-lane, and Naga is not having any of it.
Yeah, and EG don't want anything to do with it either. Universe is headed down to the south, so okay. Everyone with the lane switch up. Thanks to that Dire Observer ward sitting up next to the tower. You still haven't had EG. Okay, now Zai's going to come in range. They see Crit as well. So OG are very well aware of what's going on, pinging out the fact that Zai is already making a break for that side shot. So they've got to be careful about this. But with S4 with the cog block, he's going to hold him back. And it's a nice lane. Fly and S4 together. This Keeper of the Light plus Clockwork, very difficult to engage on, and you might take a lot of harassment to do so.
That's the big thing. Having Coddle against the tri-lane is really nice because you can hit 3 heroes with Illuminate. So you can't get too aggressive on S4 because you'll just take a lot of harass. And Rubik is enough to help support No-Tail down bottom. he can help just put enough pressure onto the Universe Nyx Assassin that N0tail should get relative free farm down here.
This is also a beautiful lane. N0tail, when he plays this Naga, he's done it before, and I was waiting for it to happen in the draft where we saw like the OG Pudge come in combination. They've done it with combination with the Clockwork. And N0tail, when he would run it in that scenario, was always this great zone to go for exactly the same item build he's gone here, and he just moves in, Riptides out the hero, and just that zones out the offlaner. Now, in this case, he's got a Rubik behind him, so he's already able to zone out the offlaner, give Jirax a little bit more space, but with the pull over that Jirax has done, this is just giving all the free farm on the bottom lane to N0tail.
Yeah, it's a nice play to try and deny farm and XP from Universe. He'll get the split XP with the neutrals when he comes in, but N0tail able to farm pretty well under his tower, already picks up the Quelling Blade. Mid lane, though, it's the 1v1, the Sumail versus Honor matchup. Sumail with the CS advantage has gone for the first item, Bassi, which makes it kind of tough for the DK to last hit. DK, no Quelling Blade, is going to go for the Bottle Rush. So he's just going to be relying on the Breathe Fire as far as this lane goes.
Yeah, first little rotation of Zai hovering around the mid lane. Now, this wasn't properly scouted out until now, as Fly came down for the 2-minute rune. Zai is just going to harass the Keeper of the Light away. But this gives a warning to the DK.
Oh, Sumail could be in trouble. An Invis rune from Jerax. This has not been scouted. They do know it was the actual rune down bottom, so Sumail probably being told, like, watch out for the haste, the Invis, some kind of high impact
Courier
rune.
snipe. Zai, is he going to get there in time? The Courier turned for a split second. It's got the bottle on it. Zai able to take it. Jirax coming behind it, and then on the bottom lane as well. Top lane Clockwork is the first blood that EG will claim. Not only a Courier snipe, but you also lose the Clockwork.
What a start for EG. Always, you feel like as a DK mid and you go for that bottle rush, you have to bottle Crow. Like, you're against a range hero, you're being constantly harassed. Your way to CS is through the Breathe Fire spam. So you're like, all right, I've got to bottle Crow. That's what DK does in mid lane. But losing your bottle, because of how reliant you are about it, can absolutely cripple you. And now this is going to be a pretty big period of time where Honor does not have the bottle at mid.
And they are going to, censor what was just put on the screen. Sumail, got to be careful right now. His Breathe Fire's on up with a Fade Bolt, just had level 4. So the leap away on low life. Zai turns, going to get the stun into Ana, combining up with the arrow. That's a big stun. Sumail has level 2 Starfall. There should be enough damage, or will it? Ana, back to the tower. They missed up here as well. And Sumail, now Jirax picks him up. Fade Bolt to bubble. It's only level 1. The damage is enough with the bounce out. Jirax playing it perfectly, and EG, well, the luck was there to get some early first bloods, but they just kept missing.
I want to say they had both heroes miss uphill there. That's what it looked like, at least. Perhaps it was the damage block from the high armor and the stout shield on one of them, but that was some very fortunate stuff for Honor, not going down there and turning it around with Rubik picking up the kill.
He needed something like that. Like, the Courier is going to be back up in 1 minute, so he'll have his bottle back at that point. But this has given him, like, room to breathe.
Absolutely. And for OG, you're kind of happy with all this like chaotic stuff happening in mid and top lane if the N0tail Naga is being ignored. And that's been the case so far, and that is about to change.
Yeah, the smoke maneuver is SD as well as Leshrac coming in. N0tail's got no mana. Like, his PMS will not protect him from this. Jirax, he's got enough mana for at least one Telekinesis or Fade Bolt, and he's going to have to make the choice. There's already Disruption, Catcher, Universe. Oh, he misses the stun! He didn't hit N0tail at the right time, and the Split Hook misses! EG, a couple of things go wrong, and OG it's a get out jail free card.
Yikes. That perhaps first game of the day, still waking up. That was one of the snippets I heard from them going in to play the first match of the day yesterday. They're like, man, we play at like 60% when we're playing. They said like everyone plays at 60% of full potential in that first game of the day.
Well, we better make sure this whole series goes to 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. These games are just going to get better game by game as the teams fully wake up, but you can't be making those kind of mistakes sometimes. It could be very costly if N0tail stays alive. Doesn't even take damage, so it's not even like they send him back to base. He's still sitting down here, able to farm with his illusions, potentially even his hero once he feels it's safe that the supports are gone. This is an off-lane farming Naga Siren.
This is very problematic when you're able to get that early level 6 EG's initiation and that aggressive maneuver you're looking for with the SD and Leshrac. It may just not come to fruition. Mid lane, Jirax, there's your pick up over on Mirana, dragging it back with the Dragon Tail stun. The leap, he doesn't even get up the hill. Jirax able to Fade Bolt him down.
So OG now is Jirax. You've got to respect his rotations.
That's Jirax in a nutshell. He is the best ganking 4-position support out there, hands down. He makes these plays happen. He does on heroes that you can kind of roam and gank on Rubik, but you don't expect to be able to gank a mid-Mirana. This is not like a 2-hero combo that you normally expect to find that kill, but the DK Rubik bring her down for a second time now, and Sumail is going to be perhaps getting a bit tilted almost after the 2 ganks coming his way, especially with those uphill misses earlier. This early game, to me, favoring OG a bit. Nyx is top of the CS. The CS-wise, it's not amazing for OG. It's just the fact they're getting away with the Naga farming in the off lane. The DK mid, his lane's been salvaged despite the bottle snipe. And if anything, that courier snipe is what's given EG what they need out of this earlier game.
Should flag to the fact like Arteezy bailed off that top lane. There was a small moment where S4 almost came in range to lock him inside Cogs with a level 3 battery assault. And I think Arturo probably realized he's completely alone on that top just because they rotated down the SD as well as Lesh earlier on. So Illuminate going to go to work. Universe by Carapace returns as the Keeper of the Light. But this is the same combination we saw from OG yesterday. Having both the high level up in Fate Bolt as well as Illuminate, the creep waves don't stand a chance. They get melted so quickly, and without that Chen pickup that the panel as well as yourself was looking for, EG don't have that early sustained push.
Yeah, they have got Universe up at 6, so perhaps the plan is going to be try and snipe some of those annoying backline supports, the Coddle, the Rubik. If you can get a pick off using the Vendetta.
Jirax.
He's seen him though with the Dire Ward, so he has pretty good intel as far as what's going on here. Has even the Sentry Ward down between the towers and the TP in from Clock. They're possibly looking for that kill on Universe.
There's a level 6 up on S4.
They're hoping that he would just Vendetta in and try and counter-initiate using the Clockwork Hook, and Universe still may go for that play.
It saw him coming back up. S4 potentially could have blind hooked that small little path. Now the Sentry's there. Jirax, well, it starts off with a disruption on Universe, in fact, not on Jirax.
That's the 60%. Everyone missing their spells. Crit, he disrupted Universe. He was trying to aggressively disrupt. Universe was also probably going for the Vendetta initiation. Then you missed the hook shot into the ST Illusions. Everything missing, Toby. This is not the crisp play you'd normally expect from these teams, but it's such a high-pressure game, so tense here. These teams probably thinking this is almost in some way a finals.
Nice stun in the middle. This stun's going to connect Sumail as well. The Starfall's there. One charge just can't get off in time. Jirax started his TP, but also TP to the backside of the tower, so couldn't instantly get that telekinesis off. But you are right. There's a couple of things going a little bit wrong, but there's so much pressure. Like OG, everyone expected them to perform really well at TI. Didn't really go that way for them. Now, they are known as the major champions, 2 times over. So there's a lot of pressure on them to perform well in EG. The story of this whole Boston Major is them getting better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we see these teams go for kind of safe strats in that game 1, just trying to test the waters. I mean, for OG, it's one of those things where you can mis-execute a gank like that, or they were trying to bait the Nyx into the Sentry, and yeah, they mess it up and should have gotten that kill, but they've still got their overall strategy and game plan working. The Naga is farming, has the Arcane Boots, has the max out mirror images, can farm the jungle, can farm the lanes. There hasn't been any real pressure onto N0tail, nor does it look like there'll be pressure directly onto him. More likely you see pressure towards towers. EG want to take objectives, use smokes, use the Nyx to go rotate around and find kills. They're much more concerned about gaining control of the map rather than ganking N0tail 5-10 times.
Well, speaking of those smokes, we do have this maneuver from EG through the Dire jungle. N0tail knows he's actually already backing up. This is around that time when you expect the Radiant side to look to that Dire safe lane tower to bring it down. So N0tail's positioning is already perfect just to delay the lane out.
Yep, and he's farming. He's got his illusions in the jungle, so he just sends those out. He's not getting absolutely nothing while he's tucked away here, but he will poke his nose out soon, which could get scouted by the Radiant Observer Ward.
It's a very interesting time to actually bring a Lunar on a rotation. Normally, we've seen a lot of Lunars throughout this series, throughout this competition, and especially with OG. Oh, they just Sentry Ward, Universe, he's visible. The Dragon form gives him the range stun. Now hook shot forward. S4's going to hold him there with the Cogs. Arrows coming in. Universe gets his stun off, but it's already too late. Clockwork will take the kill with the battery assault. And EG wastes a lot of time with 3 big heroes to gain nothing and, in fact, lose.
That's the big thing you mentioned, like with Luna not farming and going with the team for those smoke rotations, you really are looking to use the Eclipse. Find the level 4 Lucent Beam Eclipse to kill off a core hero, be it the Naga, the Dragon Knight, or even kill multiple heroes and then transition into a tower off of that. But EG getting jumped on because there's the Sentry Ward there means they're not getting a kill, they're not getting a tower to follow it up. And it is wasted time. It's time where Arteezy could have been farming. That's a bit of a concern for him. He is, well, not too far behind the Naga Siren, but that's going to get worse when the Naga has Radiance. What is good for EG is how farmed Sumail is. Sumail's, despite the 2 deaths, well on top of the net worth chart.
As long as he can get to that Aghanim Scepter timing, it's the downside about having the Naga. She's got to hold on to a decent amount of money for now. But this will be a nice injection. The Tier 1 tower will fall. It's a level 3 Edict. The Naga illusions don't really do a lot, and N0tail's not looking to fight anyway. He's gone for a 4-0-4 build. If you're thinking of even engaging early on, you want to have 1 point up in Song of the Siren. Fly and G-Rex can keep the creep wave at bay, but that's an easy Tier 1 tower for EG.
Yeah, but now this game's kind of at a tempo that's EG set, but it's still like feeling all right for OG. Perhaps they're not too pleased with the overall outcome of the mid lane with Honor kind of going down the one time, losing his bottle. He's not farming all too well, but DK is not a hero you need to be doing big things on. We saw it with LFY, with Super, when he played these Dragon Knight games. As long as you get your basic core items, you get your treads, your wand, you get a BKB later, you get a shadow, some kind of initiation item, the Shadow Blade or the Blink, you're going to be okay to do your role as a Dragon Knight. You can set up a fight, you can go in, and then the clockwork follows you up. So just having one of those 2 tools and having enough farm as a DK is all you really need.
Oh, Universe. You expect him to be rotating around with that Vendetta not happening. Crit is actually looking up, calling out the stacks. It's not going to be too long before OG want to look to farm this, but for now, OG, defense of their Tier 1 tower on bottom lane. They're going to trigger off the fortification. And then a Moonlight Shadow. Who are they looking for? It's actually to get on the top lane, Arteezy out of there. But S4 hit the blind hook shot. He had a small bit of time to see him. But the Illuminate, the Sentry Warp, it does the work. And the Luna will fall.
Yeah, that's great pickoff for OG when you're killing one of the key heroes of EG. Taking Arteezy down, they do take a bit of damage on this bottom Tier 1, but even that's being well defended. And then looking for an initiation on Zai.
If they can find him in the tree lines, Anna's going to make his way down. Jirax having that Pulse Nova will give the extra damage, but now, well, they actually have Anna stuck in the tree line. Dire Creep Waves moving in, Universe under the cover of Vendetta, also in the neighborhood, but they drop a Sentry Ward. They see him straight away! OG! I don't know if they realize it. Universe with the Spike Carapace might buy himself a little bit of space, but not enough to survive. S4's Cogs will keep Sumail out this fight as well. And OG's Sentry Wards have been right on the money.
They've been game winning. It's ridiculous how they've caught the Nyx Assassin. It's not like they're buying, they're over-investing in sentries and they're all across the map. They're just in the right place at the right time, catching Universe above that bottom rune earlier, catching him now at the bottom lane. They should have caught him between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower. They've read Universe's rotations perfectly this game. That is some impressive support play from between Fly and Jerax, making those calls, and S4 hitting some really nice hooks onto that Nyx Assassin on a couple different occasions.
You still have the tower advantage going the way of EG. We expect this kind of stuff when you're running, maybe not the Luna as much, but at least when you're running the track for the early pressure. Jirax out a long way. S4, the Observer Ward. He saw SD just moving in, and Crit, well, he is most definitely dead up on that top lane.
Nice little up spot because it's out of sentry range from that Cliff Ward, which is so common and popular. Does give OG another kill going their way. This game is really feeling very OG favored right now, just based on the continuous kills we're seeing out of S4's Clockwork. Farm-wise, it's not a complete disaster for EG. It's even on net worth, but it's still an under-farmed Luna. This is not EG hitting their stride. They were hoping to be able to take towers, take objectives, use this level 4 Edict of Leshrac. They picked this hero to have a pushing lineup, and while Leshrac has been in the right place to kind of go for some towers from time to time, it never really has come together where EG is a 5-man unit, have everything they need.
Well, they keep losing their cores before the Leshrac can push. Like, Universe goes down, you're losing so much control through his stuns, through even just the fear of a Nyx Assassin running on the map. You're meant to, like, OG is meant to be fearing the rotations of the Nyx Assassin, but because they keep seeing him, because these supports have picked up so much money, they got so much money to spend on these utility items like Sentry Wards, that they're just checking every time where Universe is moving. And underneath the Obs and the Sentry on bottom, it's actually more trouble for Artur. S4! A big wide hook, a secondary Sentry will be dropped. Arteezy with that Purge creep, actually slowing down Jirax for the moment. It's got another charge with the Lucent Beam. Jirax in trouble. There goes your first disruption out from Crit. Jirax gets stunned up, hit by the Vendetta. copping a fair chunk of damage and will die.
Yeah, OG just looked to cut their losses there. Imagine it was like, look, we've got this relic coming. Let's not lose a big team fight here. We can take a one-man casualty in the Rubik, but we don't have to lose too much more. If anything, they're probably concerned about the tower push coming now with EG all grouped up towards this bottom lane. They've got 4 heroes down here. They don't have Sumail on the Mirana, who's very close to an Aghanim Scepter. He's the player they're kind of looking to kind of transition into that mid to late game as the big carry here with Arteezy struggling and to be able to fight those Naga illusions.
Yeah, the Naga illusions is where my mind's going for the double Starfall. If Sumail can clear this out, then N0tail's damage in the fights is obviously going to be drastically less. Yep. But then you look towards the DK. Anna, he's finally getting closer towards that armlet. He's behind the Luna in net worth, so it hasn't been the greatest DK game after his bottle got sniped. But the game of catch-up is always going to be better for OG, just because you're running a Naga and Keeper of the Light. Your global control is so good that it's more like EG is on the clock to try and win this.
Oh, absolutely. The longer this goes, as much as Mirana can clear out waves and pseudo deal with Naga illusion, Naga still is going to come out on top there over time. The illusions will split across 3 lanes. Mirana cannot be in all 3 lanes at once. Naga illusions will just get tankier over time once you get more and more items. The Octarine with the Manta with a potential Heart of Taras. That's where the illusions have too much HP to even burst them down. For OG, you want to make sure you have to farm elsewhere. The Dragon Knight of Honor has an Ancient stack, which you can farm a bit later on once he hits level 11. So for OG, I think I look towards them getting more farm and Honor, because everything's going fine for the Naga. They want to make sure they have diversity with their damage output and with other heroes able to contribute, because EG are playing for the long game. They picked up the Midas on Universe's Nyx Assassin. They've got the Helm of the Dominator Arteezy. He's farming Ancient stacks himself. Sumail's got the Aghanim Scepter. He's looking for the late game, of course. So even though there's a Naga on OG, the late game is kind of what EG have kind of recognized as where they're heading in.
Universe, how do you stay alive? Sit underneath your own sentry ward. That way you know they don't have vision of you.
There's a Radiance though, and I think they decide, let's not fight this Radiance song.
DK actually triggers his Dragon Form with the extra sentry planted and the Obs Ward. That sentry is just out of range of the Radiant sentry. Arrow will fly between the middle of OG. The Observe Ward will be taken out. Universe, oh, the Spike Arrow, the hook shot! S4's in! Disruption came from Crit, but it didn't do enough in time. S4 does get stunned up, but N0tail resets up the fight with the Song of the Siren. Zai's just out of range of it, and that allows Ana to pick him up without turning off the Song of the Siren. Now Sumail into the trees, picked up by Jirax, thrown back into the middle of the OG sandwich, and 4 heroes down for EG. A tier 1 tower to boot, and OG, they look in great control of this game at the moment.
Yep. First thing N0tail does with his Radiance is tell his team, let's go fight, let's go together, let's contest those Ancients and take a team fight. They get the initial pickoff. S4's clockwork has been impressive, to say the least. He has found initiation after initiation, and that sleek micro from N0tail, he slept everyone, but then moved his hero a bit further away so that the DK could finish off the Leshrac. So really nice positioning from him. Everything being played out just perfectly by OG in that team fight, and they get themselves the tower. They get a huge chunk of gold going their way. N0tail pulls well ahead in overall farm, and Dragon Knight even looking a lot more competitive with the Luna and Mirana having stayed alive throughout that one as well.
EG's grouping up, 5-man smoke. They will move from their tier 2 tower. They were out of range of any of OG's vision. But is this a slip into Roshan? Will OG know about this? Or are they coming for the kills? The Radiant, they scan, they understand that OG is near the Ancients. Fly, well, he might be the sacrificial lamb for OG. A 5-man smoke maneuver. If they take the Ancients as well, it's worth it for EG.
Yeah, they feel confident knowing that the sleep is on cooldown.
Wait. That's a Vendetta Rubik with a Blink Dagger. Jirax is sitting next to the Ancients with a fresh Blink Dagger.
There's no sentries. There's no sentries to scan him out.
Well, where's your money anyway? You can't have sentries if you've got no money on your supports. The stack is still not taken. Anna's coming in with his Dragon Form available. Jirax gets hit. Now the blink forward, picking up Arteezy, drags him back. The Ensnare will hold Artur in the middle of the river. But that's a little bit too far to go, and OG will say thank you. You did a little bit of work for us. They'll finish up the Ancient stack.
Yeah, they'll get zoned by the Radiant Illusions. All it's going to take is like a bit of Radiance damage and a Riptide to get everyone on EG down to half HP. And yep, that'll get OG the Ancients. It was a Keeper of the Light going down, but that was an EG maneuver that was looking for a bigger kill, that was looking to actually take those Ancients. They didn't find the Naga or DK. They didn't get to steal the Ancients.
Oh, and all the wards that EG just put down will be lost. N0tail They found both of the observer wards that EG placed with the smoke maneuver, so now EG, they're pretty much blind on the map. S4 gets a hook shot down the bottom lane, actually soloing Arteezy's Luna.
Dang, that is not a good sign when your Luna's getting solo killed by a Clockwork.
But what are you meant to do?
Jungle.
Like, he's got Blade Melee. You want to turn your ulti on that? That's not going to happen, but we'll have a quick look at that one. So this is S4. This is just what we missed then. He's looking. Someone has to be somewhere around here. Oh, look at that. Free gold. Free gold on the Panther.
Didn't even have to hook shot initially. Wow, he almost missed that hook shot. That was just barely clipping the side. Arteezy trying to make some nice plays to juke it there, but
it's the style points.
Landed.
You grab it by the tail.
Yeah. Tough game for Arteezy. He's now 0-2. His net worth is just not where you'd expect it to be for an Ancient stacking Luna, and S4's got another hook in 18 seconds.
Man, at this rate, he's going to have his Aghanim Scepter, and then like you won't even care about the cooldown of hook. Prep work from OG on the top lane. It's again, they're putting a lot of farm and space into this Rubik. They know he can survive almost anything EG throw at him. Especially when No-Tail's just in the neighborhood.
That's just, No-Tail's always there to bail out OG if EG catch them by surprise or go for another smoke play. They do have one, and it does feel like they can't just sit back and play the farm game. OG have too much map control now. They've got nice vision around this Radiant Ancients. It's hard for Arteezy to go back to stacking this and maintain control. Meanwhile, OG have full control of their side of the map. There's, unless EG go for another big smoke, those Dire Ancients are fully in OG's hands.
But how is EG meant to fight when they don't have the items needed to fight? Like, the Aghanim Scepter is the only critical item that EG has managed to gather in. Are you running a hand of Midas for Nyx Assassin? Maybe he gets an Aghanim Scepter in defense, but you need the Eul Scepter over on the Leshrac. This is kind of critical for Lesh to get these proper setups, unless you want to rely on Crit, but Crit can't stand the front lines long enough. He doesn't have enough survivability, and you're still short the Manta on Arteezy.
I think more so than the Euls is even the Universe Blink Dagger. He's going to be the key initiator as far as the upcoming fights go, where he can blink in, start things off with Impale, set it up for the Leshrac to not have to go for Euls. If anything, yeah, Zion looks like he may be considering a Force Staff. And the other big item is Luna's BKB, I want to say. This is one of those games where the fights are coming to you soon. If you don't go for BKB, fighting into the DK stun, the Blinding Light, Rubik, Clockwork, these are all heroes that demand a BKB. So we may just have to see the Luna go for one very, very early on.
Zaya's going to try and snipe out this bottom tower. It's been so long, the fortification's already back off cooldown, and hook shot! The rocket from S4 gave him the perfect vision of the tree line, not to mention the Leshrac walking into that position in front of the tier 1 tower. So that was just an easy kill, but forces rotation from OG. They were technically already doing it, however. They took the tier 2 tower and already started half of the TPs to bot lane.
Something some people may forget about the old alliance saves with S4 is he used to play a lot of mid Clockwork. He was one of the few mid players out there who would play this mid, max the battery assault first, and just go around ganking and killing everyone. Similar to how we play like a mid bat rider. And he is showcasing his prowess on the Clockwork here again and again. He's so tanking out 1500 HP with a Blade Mail and Hood. Killing him when he initiates. It's normally you think Clockwork, he initiates in, he sets up a fight, he dies, and his team clean up. But no, this is a Clockwork. He's getting the kills and surviving because of how well he's done and how farmed he's gotten. He's almost up there with the Luna in farm. Well, no, not quite, but the fact he's as close as he is with the Luna is still ridiculous in itself.
I'm not for this maneuver that's coming out from Jirax and Fly. Like, it's so smart. They split their sentry wards, so each of them has one, and with a smoke maneuver, they were hunting the Nyx. Smoke breaks, drop a sentry ward, and then you can easily just blink into telekinesis.
See if they look to set up at this top lane. They have got, the recall coming. S4's now here at the top lane looking for a hook shot.
Well, with the rocket, they see him, and Crit caught in the tree line. S4 success rate rather high. And Crit will die to the Clockwork. Even with disruption, it just bought him a little bit of time, but the result was inevitable.
There's one player who hasn't needed any waking up. It is still S4, and OG have got a gem now on the Naga Siren. One of the really nice things you can do, just buy a gem for her. She can then send the illusions out. It's very easy to find the Nyx and shut down his game. Universe's ability to roam around the map is pretty much taken out. I mean, it's been taken out this entire game. It's not like it's just happening now with this gem. Even before this, with the sentry wards alone, OG were always ready for Universe's Nyx, and that's going to get even more and more difficult. This is where he's it's almost demanded that he has to get a blink because he's no way to initiate with all the detection. He's just going to have to initiate the old-fashioned way, which is just blink in with Impale, not use the Vendetta for initiation, but use it maybe for a bit of extra damage. Not a spell you can rely on anymore.
This is a little disgusting. Rubik stole Disruption from the SD, so combining it up with the fresh Mana Style on No-Tail, they just forced in all the lanes, bring EG back to base. No-Tail like BT to the bottom lane, then Fly just recalls him straight back into the mid, and OG continue this assault.
Strategically, OG can deal with almost anything EG throw at them because of often you go for the 5-man push. The answer is to go push a side lane, split push with Sumail, but like you just said, you've got the ways to deal with it. EG's their biggest and best way back into this game is going to be going for a big team fight. Very difficult to do against the Sleep, but they've got to find some way to smoke out, catch OG by surprise. Arteezy saving up 3.4k gold, and I am looking at that BKB as the timing for when they want to make that smoke. Roche is still standing, something that OG don't really want to go for, and they don't take too well. They push just fine without it, and their lineup, if anything, slows down if they waste time to go for Roche, but EG need to find a way to get their lanes pushed out and go for that smoke.
Yep. Difficult. Very, very difficult. Find a way, maybe they can show us the way, because right now there isn't really a visible one. Arteezy's banking on a lot of money. The only way they could really do it is if they could defend this OG attack. At Ana, the Dragon Form, you just jump up onto the hill, the tick begins, with the Naga Illusions all out. Every lane is being pressured, so EG can't mount like a straight 5-on-5 defense line.
Yeah, for EG, it's pretty much defend the high ground now, which is not a position you want to be in when you're versing a Naga Siren, because that's not defending one lane, that's defending all three.
Maybe now they can fight. That BKB is on the Luna.
Yeah,
so you kind of have to come out, but the second you try and come out, OG will know. They'll see inside your base. Even if there's not an observer board, there'll be an illusion.
OG get too much map vision is the problem now with the illusions pushing all three lanes. No-Tail's micro is pretty much sit in mid lane, make illusions, send one top, send one bottom, send one mid, and his hero never even pushes forward. It's just the illusions.
Okay, this is actually hilarious. So right now, Jirax is making copies of the illusions of Naga that have been sent out by Crit, who made copies of the first copy that Jirax sent into the base. Oh, it's literally copies of copies of copies. There's got to be some level of
it's too early in the morning.
this.
I have no idea what you just said. Speaking.
Wake up, gods! Wake up!
Oh boy, it's a tough game for EG. That goes without saying. They've got some good AoE heroes in the Mirana, the Leshrac, so they can theoretically push out lanes. The problem is you're always split up, and that's where the Clockwork pulls this draft together.
This is the opening. This is the opening. It's Arteezy retreating out. S4, hook shot over. Remember, Arteezy has that BKB. Is he going to trigger it to try and fight this with the ensnare? He triggers the BKB, but so late. The Song of the Siren comes out. The Eclipse, the damage just is nowhere near enough because actually isolated him. He was the only one immune from the Song of the Siren. Now everyone's on the run. At least they want to run, but they're being denied even that privilege. The SD was caught on the retreat. And OG, they finally got what they wanted. Arteezy just slipped out a little bit too far to farm up the wave. OG pounced. And EG, it almost like they weren't sure if they actually wanted to fight that.
Yeah, they decided, I mean, Luna had no buyback.
Oh, Ana, blink, stun, crit, goodbye. 45 seconds on the sideline. Sumail jumps in, maybe with a stun, but no Clockwork! It's a huge cog, and they just called GG well played. It was a slow bleed of the blue. And green is reigning supreme. OG take game one against Evil Geniuses.
Dang, this OG rocked up to play some Dota. That was some really impressive early game rotations from Jerax, turning into S4 taking over the mid game with his Clockwork, and then come late game, it's the Naga Siren show. No-Tail, his performance on this hero, one of the most reliable Nagas out there. This guy always finds a way to get his farm, always hits his right item timings, and it's such a classic OG. 4 heroes creating space 1. Normally it's like your Miracle or your Honor, but this time around when No-Tail gets his Naga Siren, they make this pick work.
The scarier thing is too, when you say it's 4 heroes creating space for 1, it's not just the normal 4 protect one, which a lot of people think of. Like, the first time this roster of OG was brought together, And you saw the synergy, the instant synergy that started between S4 as well as Jirax. It was scary as hell. They were running like even these combinations of Pudge and Clockwork together. And this kind of thing destroyed almost any team they faced up against. The rotations are so heavy, the offlane so heavily involved. And N0tail, he's able to be consistent, mainly because every other team is under such heavy pressure that he's able to find that space. But also in this tournament, he's been involved in a hell of a lot. Every time that Luna happens, the thing which Arteezy didn't do, he rotates around with the rest of his team trying to find the kill. OG, they'll just TP the Luna into the fight when it happens on top of the tier 1 tower. It looks like EG didn't read OG's maneuvering at all in this game.
Well, it was the opposite for OG. They knew everything that was coming their way. EG looking a bit stumped there. It doesn't feel like they got outdrafted. It was they got red.
They got outplayed.
Nyx Assassin, every single Vendetta moving around the map. There's a sentry there waiting for him. Those sentry wards are game winning because all it takes is one key kill for a Nyx, and it's a tower, maybe even 2 towers. If you get that like that Nyx rotation at the bottom tier 1 and tier 2 where he gets caught between that sentry, he doesn't die there, but if you get a kill, you get the tier 1 bottom, you get the tier 2.
Yep.
You snowball out of control off of Nyx kills. There was no Nyx kills. There was Clockwork kills. That's what there was.
Yeah, there was no fear. There was no fear factor at all. And I didn't actually mean that as a pun. But it's the fact that Nyx Assassin, he had no presence. No presence at all. And I'd love to know what EG could have done better. We've got a bunch of people that might have opinions on that. Machine?
That is the question, right? And also, I'm feeling very, very smug at this point in time. That OG prediction, again, this loser getting predictions right at the moment.
Is this you begging for acceptance?
Speechless. I'm just going to say I just made Toby 1 speechless.
That was just one game.
Yeah, you're right. I know the series has got a lot more to offer. But your question, Toby, about what could EG have done differently, I will just throw it to these guys. Thank you so much. You've probably got a lot more casting to do. I'll let you rest your voice alongside God's. Fogged, Winter, Shiva joining me. The question that Toby did propose to you was what could EG have done better? I guess we'll start with that instead of reflecting upon OG. Fogged, what happened here?
I think there was one fight that kind of dictated everything. A couple of small mistakes that I don't think we really see happen either. Like this courier snipe, we were like, oh man, this is massive. Sumail's going to pull so far ahead of the Dragon Knight, but they make a rotation with the Shadow Demon Leshrac into the bottom lane to kill the Naga, and Universe misses a stun, which is extremely uncharacteristic of him. Yeah. Obviously, that's not a huge, like, oh my god, they lost the game because of that. But then, like, little things do make a difference when you're playing versus a Naga. These small things start to add up. Then, I think the big thing that was telltale was the Ancient fight.
Yeah, I do think, though, the mid lane was actually favoring Sumail in the end. He got ahead. The killing of the bottle was huge. He died, I think, two times, but still was able to pull ahead in net worth compared to the Dragon Knight. It wasn't until that fight that that OG is like, okay, you know what? They're actually in a really strong position right now.
Yeah, S4 played phenomenal on the Clockwork as well, and I think the whole team of OG, every single time Universe was attempting to make a move, they had a sentry down. They already were reading his movements before he even did them. So really big props to OG. EG just, even though they had a very strong draft, they weren't able to really group up in any way with the Luna. They weren't able to play with their draft and actually put pressure on just because of like those small mistakes. OG, take that Ancient fight, get 4 kills out of it, instantly pick up a gem. Once that gem is picked up, they close the map onto EG so hard, there's like no way that Universe can really make moves.
This is just the speed at which this game is over. I mean, seeing Arteezy fall was the beginning of the end. I guess we'll turn it on to the other side of things as well. I mean, do we start hailing praise towards OG Winter? Their defensive play seemed to be a bit of a talking point.
Well, I think that our classes sum it up pretty much. Clockwork was all over the place. Nyx wasn't doing much for his team. And I would actually attribute it to his Midas. I actually did not like the Midas pickup on the Nyx at all. I felt like he needed an 4-star or a Blink. Like, there was no way they would want to go late game against the Naga. And they needed the Nyx to be a presence in the early to mid game. And going for the Midas there, it was like he was counting on the game to be much better. But in the end, the game was so difficult that the Midas was actually hurting the whole team because he didn't have a Force or a Blink.
Right.
Yeah, couldn't really fight yet in time. And then you got a Luna and a Shadow Demon, which is great to have. We know that they have a very high success rate together. But you never really get to use your strategy because your lanes are always pushed out. Your illusions are always... There's always more illusions coming up from OG compared to how many there are from EG. And it's just... They were just choked in their own base. They had no resources to work with. And then OG just... crumbles, or rather, EG just crumbles.
That was as a result of no picks happening, and Clock getting the picks all over the map, so the other players couldn't do their job, and you know, S4 allowed his team to do their job.
S4 definitely does get a whole lot of praise. You can see how he did alongside his others with that scoreboard. We'll throw that up, and I'll see what springs to mind for Fogged and co. When you do cast your eyes upon it, what are we identifying here?
As far as damage done, his assists, like as much as we want to talk about him over and over again, he was such a commanding presence in this game. I think they also did a really good job of, even though they lost their top tier 1, their safe lane tower tier 1 early, they didn't even play on that side of the map for the most part. They literally just went to EG's side and put the pressure on them. So Nyx wants to be able to play and make moves around the enemy side of the map. But if all your lanes are shoved in, you're just not able to do that. So I really liked the way OG approached this game with that manner.
Yeah, I want to comment on JerAx's movements as well.
Yeah.
Like we talked about during the pregame how much the mid lane matchup is going to be very crucial. Despite losing the bottle on Ana, but JerAx moved over. He got 2 kills on the Mirana, allowing the lane to be somewhat... he still lost the lane, but it's still manageable in the end. If the 2 kills didn't happen, losing the bottle, oh my god, the Dragon Knight is just going to be done that game.
So Sumail seems to always win his lane. Even if the game doesn't go his way, is that still true? Still stands true?
Still stands. He just couldn't do much. As pointed out, the map control wasn't there. He couldn't go for aggression that you normally see Sumail go for. It was just very clever play from OG.
So much love and a lot of credit going towards S4, not necessarily the usual candidate that we do find ourselves highlighting. It's good to see his clockwork going up against someone who plays an awful lot of it, of course, Universe. And now we'll head over to Purge. What's going on over there, bro? I've word on the street is you've got some analysis for me.
I'm pretty excited. PGL had a great new idea for production. It's called socialization, so they thought they'd put us together on the same
we
camera.
We have to talk now. Well, apparently we hate each other, Kevin. Is that true?
That's not true. I actually I don't hate your tie today.
You don't?
So there's
Thank you. I need to tie it up a bit. I do like that pocket square. It does look very good on you.
Thank you.
Makes your eyes pop.
You guys are...
My eyes are not
right,
yellow.
go do
they're
your
blue,
thing, bro.
Thank you. Okay, let's do it. What I want to focus on is the laning mid. Sumail did an amazing job. He did that interview the other day. He said nobody or no one really is challenging him in the mid lane. If we compare the matchup this time, he's got 52 base damage right now with a Ring of Basilius start, and his opponent is a Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight, of course, going for a little different build. Actually, the interesting thing about this build is it's got no Quelling Blade right now, which means that he's going to have a harder time last hitting. He's only got 56 damage, so it's pretty comparable, and he's also trying to get a fast bottle. So basically, Dragon Knight's trying to get as many last hits as he can temporarily until he can get the bottle, and then he can spam out Breathe Fire a little bit more. And in this case, Sumail there with Breathe Fire on him was only hitting for about 35 damage, so this is significant because that means Ana should have a huge advantage in terms of getting last hits. But what Sumail was doing was abusing things like Basilius. He can turn this on or off to give the creeps 2 more armor or 2 less armor than they should have, and that means that Ana's consistently going to have to try to match Sumail and whether or not he gets the last hits. It's a huge advantage if Sumail plays it right, and in a lot of these cases he actually made the difference where Ana wasn't quite doing enough damage, and because of that he got a big CS advantage in the early to mid game stage. Any chance that Sumail gets to arrow range creeps as well like this, he got the first creep that came in because Ana made a blocking mistake, and then that second one as well. I love this moment as well, also turning on the Basilius to make sure that while Ana's trying to auto attack these creeps, he's not doing as much damage because of the basey, and then in the meantime it forces Ana to actually have to use Flame Breath to get range creeps. Just the amount of control that Sumail gets out of his lane, despite being at a lower base damage, is just, it gives him so much advantage. And it was made even worse when Zai later sniped the courier, which killed the bottle that Ana was trying to rush this whole time anyways. It was just a giant advantage, and that's really why EG got a big win in the mid game.
In the mid lane, indeed, Sumail. Wow, the fact that we have got Winter, Fogged, and Shiva in awe of what Purge has just showed us is testament to how well that was played.
We know that Eternal Envy plays it like this as well, but this is just taking it.
That was like impeccable Basilius toggle.
Yeah. We got a speechless Winter. I
Winter,
mean,
you're speechless.
Enough.
It was very good
That was
usage.
so good, like the way he used the Bassi. Oh my god, that was, I mean, hands down, that's like one of the best mid plays I've seen.
And what's so awesome is that through all of that, throughout Ana's shortcomings, being able to basically struggling to get last hits thanks to the magic of Sumail, and still OG prevail.
Yeah.
I can't stop. What is wrong with me?
It's a curse.
It is. It's a horrible, horrible curse. I don't know what I did to deserve this. But as we do kind of recap what did go wrong, I think it's actually very interesting to remind everyone that we saw a Shadow Demon Luna pairing fail. I could probably count on one hand how many times we've seen that those two drafted successfully and actually failing.
Well, yesterday we had 2 Alchemist games failing, so today we have an SD Luna failing. Alex is all smiles right there.
Absolutely.
And that's how it goes with the meta shift. People see what works, and then it's like, oh, that works, but then someone else is already thinking, okay, they're going to pick that. How are we going to deal with that in return? And that's what's going to make the next game all the more interesting. We talked about it yesterday in the EG VP matchup. Game 2 is like that's where it has to be done. That's where you have to adjust to what your team's doing, and at the same time, I keep saying it over and over again, but it's just such an amazing part of a full series to see that the process of teams on how they improve.
Yeah.
I think the Coddle pick, we mentioned it like multiple times versus Shadow Demons. It tends to get like banned out, or people don't have like the room to pick it in your support. When they have it in their first two versus a Shadow Demon, it really helps a lot. Like you're able to deal with those illusions. You're able to deal with the push. They picked Rubik and Coddle to deal with the push that was coming out from EG. So there's like no way that they really can take towers in an easy fashion. Lets it easy for the Clockwork to set up. Like we keep commending S4, but his rocket placements, just his observation of the map, reading the movements from UG was.
But dude, something,
It was what?
something very
Just
important.
right.
The third pick, they could have gone for the clock instead of the Knicks.
They could have gone. Yeah, EG could have taken the clock themselves. We thought they would.
Yeah.
But the Knicks, it could have worked. But like you mentioned, you would have rather seen him go for
Clock
something
was
like a
picked up
force.
before
Yeah,
Nyx
of course,
Assassin,
or
though.
Blink.
They took the clock from them.
No, they picked
They
Knicks.
picked Knicks.
They picked Knicks, and then they picked clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had the
Shiva
chance.
is not convinced.
I'm not convinced, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I trust these guys.
Take their
so
word for it. Take their word for it.
Yeah, they are the true analysts.
Yes, all right. Well, we'll be talking to our true analysts with a question from the crowd / audience / social media world. This one's come from a Firesword. He says, will the Major have any effects on the new patch? I would assume. I mean, that's an interesting one.
Maybe
I'd
a
say
tiny
yes,
bit,
yeah.
but in a patch, and people have been saying, "Oh my God, Dota 3, and there's a big patch to come." They really think it's going to be done overnight? I mean, there's been people working on this patch since the previous patch came out. I would imagine, in terms of how much time, how much tweaking these or ones that they want to have done. It might have some effect, maybe on illusions.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you're watching your game played at an incredibly competitive level. Well, you wouldn't take some of that on board.
Probably not like probably not taking stuff from like today that they're gonna
No.
be. Oh, today we saw that this hero
This
was really
needs to
good. So
change.
get rid of it. No, probably from like the earlier days in the group stages and stuff. Maybe like the first day of the main event, they maybe implemented a few couple things, but I would say that they probably already had their like window
It's
of
set in
everything that they
stone.
had.
Yeah.
So
Radiance
they needed
Burn gets removed from illusions. Ha.
illusions give bounty. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. It looks like we've got a...
We got who's
Oh, I
signing
think
on?
that was a sneaky Slacks. They keep calling him, they keep catching him. He is such a hard worker. Every time, if you ever think you see Slacks sitting down, it's probably because it's for a piece of content.
Yes.